Hello, Benjies. Welcome to the BingeWorthy podcast here on the Geekish Network. This is the hottest ticket in town.
Absolutely.
The premise of our show, in case you missed Geek Beast a little bit earlier, is during the week we will binge watch a television series. And then we come right here to the BingeWorthy podcast to provide you with an in-depth, informative, and always entertaining analysis of that series. Or as one of my co-hosts said last week, we do hood shit for our hood friends.
Was I here for that episode? I don't
You were
remember.
not here for that episode. So that's what he said. That's what he said. He said, I do hood shit for my hood friends because we set the bar high. And we do set the bar high here. My name is Johnny Randolph, or you can call me Randy. And I've got three extraordinary co-hosts. Our first co-host is the captivating, the insightful, the dynamic diva, the original, the one and only Miss Cortney Scott Wright. Say hello to the people, Cortney.
Hello, hello. Thank you for that amazing introduction.
No problem.
Usual.
Well deserved. My next co-host is the chicest geek this side of the Milky Way. He is Mr. Jet Setter Fresh himself, the salt in the floss. Say hello to the people, Chuck.
What's up? And I'm also the hood rat friend.
Who wants to do
The
hood
hood
shit
rat
with
homie.
friends?
The hood rat homie.
Show ghetto ass.
That's what he said. He said he want to do hood shit with his hood friends. And my final co-host is,
Wear a hood next week. Sorry.
he needs no introduction, right? He's one half or one third of Geek Beast. He is internationally accepted, globally respected. I call him the game spitter because he spit that fire every week. Say hello to the people, Syntell.
Yo, what's cracking, lady, man? You over here with my family. Give me the remote. I want to talk. Give me the remote.
Hit the remote. That's what we are. The real premise of this shit is we're just four siblings fighting over the control of the remote. All right, today we will be reviewing HBO's The Nevers. Now, the premise of The Nevers is in the last years of the Victorian reign, London is beset by the touched people, mostly women, who suddenly manifest abnormal abilities. Now, some of them are charming, some of them are disturbing. Among them are Amalia True, a mysterious, quick-fisted widow, and her friend Pentnitz Adair, a brilliant young inventor. They are champions of this new underclass, making a home for the touch while fighting the forces of, well, pretty much everybody to make room for those whom history, as we know it, has no place. Now, we talked about this a little bit during Crosstalk. The creator is Josh or Joe Whedon, because I'm going to call him Joe. Mama called him Joe. I'm going to call him Joe. And
Is he Josh anymore? The Josh
he's
is
just
gone?
Joe. He's just Joe. We're gonna call him Joe. In July 13th, 2018, it was announced that HBO had given production a straight series order. Joe Whedon would serve as the writer, director, executive producer, and showrunner for the series. The series landed at HBO after a bidding war with other network streaming services, including Netflix. Our cast for this series is Laura Donnelly as Amalia True, Anne Skelly as Pentnitz Adair. Is it Adair?
Yeah, Adair.
Penance. Yeah, Penance
Adair.
Adair.
Okay.
Yeah, yep.
Olivia Williams as Lavinia Bidlow.
Bidlow.
Bidlow, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, Lavinia
Okay.
Bidlow.
Mhm.
James Norton as Hugo Swan. I love that guy.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of characters in here that I really love. Let's see here. All right. turn. Okay.
Malady. I just love Malady.
I do like a Malady too.
Yeah.
Tom Riley.
Yeah, we got Nick Frost as Deacon or Ron or the Beggar King.
Mhm.
Eleanor Thompson as Mary Brighton. We've got Viola Pretty John as Meredith, and Devlin as Primrose Chataway. We've got Ben Chaplin as Inspector Frank Mundy and Ella Smith as Desiree. We also have Vinnie Heaven as Nimble Jack, the thief.
Yeah.
Did you say
Okay.
Bonfire Annie?
Bonfire Annie, is she in the main cast?
Yeah, she is.
She should be.
The only black woman.
Yeah, and she is literally
and-
fire.
Rochelle Neal.
Fire!
Is
Yeah.
Rochelle
Alright,
Neal as Bonfire Annie. Yeah.
Okay.
As Rochelle Neal as
And we've
Annie
got also
Carbe, aka
Dennis
Bonfire.
O'Hare as Dr. Egmont Haig,
Mhm.
Amy Manson as Malady. And in the main characters, I don't see Bonfire Annie.
She's right above Malady. As you're going through the list. Yeah,
Alright.
right after Dennis. You just passed her again.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry. We got it. We got it covered.
Okay.
We covered her. She is the one
Alright.
black woman in the show.
Then we gotta make sure we get her.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, okay. So, Chuck,
Yes.
start off with you. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the term the nevers is actually never used in this series.
Uh-huh.
It is a term that is meant to like evoke a sort of reaction to people being weird, to
Uh-huh.
what is unnatural.
Mhm.
That idea should never be people like this. You should never exist. Something should never be this way.
Uh-huh.
But the
Oh, is that what-
underlining
Did you
Mhm,
read
but-
that? Oh, is that what the premise? That's why he chose that title? 'Cause
Yeah.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
Well, but the underlining theme is like you should wear your weirdness as a badge of honor,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Certain things that could never happen are actually happening. And the people who should never have power actually have power. Do you think
There's a lot of things that should have never happened in this series.
But do you think that this series lived up to that idea in the name that he just discussed?
That's a good question, considering I just found out that's where he got the name from. That's great research over there. I would say, yeah, because these people were never supposed to have any power. They're never supposed to have these special powers. These incidents never supposed to happen. And I think it did kind of live up to that. You know, it happened to be Victorian England, in not even a steampunk age of Victorian England. So this is rare because the only steampunk we saw was created by a woman who actually had a horse and carriage with fake horses who busted out the back of it like in the first episode in the car. And it was the most amazing thing I've seen.
The driver was fake. The horses were real.
The horses were, the driver was fake. Yeah, and they busted out the back of the car. And I said, this is so amazing. And I think it did live up to that. I think it lived up to the name that he was going for. Did I know that? No. Did they convey that idea? No. I don't know what the big serious secret is. It's like having a Justice League and not ever saying the word justice. Or we're a league.
Interesting. I like it. So, Miss Dynamic Diva, you are an actress, and we've got a large cast. We literally just read off several names. What do you think about the casting of this series and the quality of the acting?
Well, I think the casting was brilliant. I think everybody lived up to their character. Because initially before the pilot aired, looking at it from a diverse perspective, I was like, really? You're gonna give me like one black male and one black woman? I understand it's Victorian, it's like 18th century London, but really? You couldn't give me a couple more black folks? But when I actually saw the pilot, I think that everybody was perfectly cast. Everyone lived up to their character, and I fell into the world. I stopped thinking from this like critical eye and I invested in it because the story in and of itself and like the stellar acting of everyone involved just drew me in.
Okay. All right. Syntell, man.
What's up, man?
Again, we had a lot of characters in here, and the premise of the show is that they are granted superpowers.
Right.
The people who are granted superpowers, they're referred to as the touch, and their enhanced abilities are called a turn. Were there any turns that stood out to you that were really cool, or you just thought, man, that shit was whack?
I'll tell you my favorite turn. My favorite turn came from the full-figured woman that was she was a prostitute. She had my favorite turn because hers was honesty. You know, a compelling force to have to tell the truth and not just spell it, send it out just one time, but just keep just spitting it out just uncontrollably. And to me, it's hilarious because it forces me I have to look at the character of herself because she's an interesting looking character. I'll just say that.
She's full figured, right?
Yeah, you know, and you think about pillow talking, right? That's just a thing that kind of like goes with the business. But in my head, pillow talking doesn't come from somebody that looks like her. That's just for me personally. So for her to be that character and to induce a whole other level of pillow talking, and it goes into the character of her profession and all of that, I thought it was just hilarious. I thought it was witty, and the actress just did an amazing job with it because she made it funny. And
because she really just had to sit there.
Yeah, and
all she had to do was be in the room.
That's it. She just had to be like 10 feet away, 20 feet away, and it's go time.
And I was going to go ahead. Finish.
No. So it just went counter to what you think of what things look like. It went counter to just a lot of things. It was just a fun superpower to have in this world, and very useful. A very useful power.
And you bring up a good point. Can you all ever recall anybody who's had that specific superpower? Like, we've had mind readers, and we had people who could take over people's minds and compel them to do things, but never, to my recollection, a person that compelled you to always tell the truth.
Well, it's not even just tell the truth, because like you said, like there's usually people, the ability is something you do. And I think that's different. And hers isn't something to be done, because an empath can read your emotions,
right?
Or a telepath can read your mind. But this is literally, I just have to sit here, and it's like almost like she releases a pheromone and people just talk.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a passive power.
Yeah, it's passive. Like she doesn't really do anything, so people just tell her their deepest, darkest, like everything that they may not necessarily have wanted to tell anybody. You know.
You know what?
And they do it, and it's done the way those truths are exposed. It's done just so casually, and then you don't even realize
it's from their emotion.
Yeah. Right.
Once their emotions get heightened.
Right. I was about to say that as their emotions get heightened, then they just start, to open up the bowel. And
it reminds me, this is a type of power that you would see and read in a manga, or you would see in the anime. There's been powers where people, like, their power was they walk in a room and they excrete a poison, and people start dying off in the room. They don't do anything else. They just naturally, it happens. It was Fist of the North Star, where the woman was made out of poison, and the guy was licking on her, and he died because he was licking on her, and she was that poisonous. Wow. Like he was trying to rape her.
Ninja Scroll.
Ninja Scroll. Yes, Ninja Scroll. Yes.
I was gonna say, I don't remember that from the North Star.
Yeah, Ninja Scroll. I got them mixed up. They're both ultraviolet.
It's okay.
Yeah, Ninja Scroll. And he was licking on her, and she was poisoning him the whole entire time. Okay. Yeah, so it's very anime-like. That's a unique power where in anime and manga you can have passive powers.
Okay. So, Syntell, man, do you think that the pilot was effective in establishing this universe? What did you think about the pilot episode?
I have to admit, I enjoyed it. It was enough to keep me going. I did. I didn't get like into full like flow of the Nevers until probably by the time we got to like episode 3, when some really cool stuff just starts happening with fight sequences and stuff like that, and I was like really all in. But kind of like Court, I was like, I saw the initial cast and where it was happening, and I'm still coming off of the hills of the other British 1800s.
They're regulars.
Regulars.
Yeah. So it kind of left a bit of a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm walking into it like, well, let me just see, wow me. And it didn't. I wasn't so sorely disappointed that I threw my hands in the air, and I got a chance to really enjoy some of the characters. But it did take me a second to initially get over that, the setting and the people that was there. And I'm like, why do I care? That's what I kept saying over and over again. Why do I care? Why do I care? Why do I care? And
what about you, Chuck? How'd you feel about the pilot?
I actually enjoyed the pilot. When I saw it, I was thinking about the regulars, and what made it stand out is America's cinema is so polished. There was lush colors, perfect costuming. The camera angles were even perfect. Even the regulars had really bad camera angles. It was like they weren't trying to make perfect angles and make sure they frame people's faces perfectly. The lighting was perfect in it. And I think the dialogue was meant to be snappy. It wasn't long dialogue. It was like it was a lot of banter back and forth. And I think when they opened up with True and what's her name leaving the house with the umbrellas. Mm-hmm. And it was like, okay, this is interesting. And you notice they're in a place of all women, and there's a gate, and you don't understand what's going on there. They had one guy there that we saw, and that was the Indian guy with the young Indian girl. And then they hopped out and left, right? And you're like, okay, what's going on between these two? And then they went into a fight scene, and it was pretty badass too. I thought that first fight scene was pretty badass.
Yeah, I did too. Courtney, I noticed right away that majority of the cast and the touch, they're women. And I thought this was a good departure away from that kind of white male being the most powerful person in the room of the crew. So I was wondering, what did you think about our protagonists as far as them being women in the pilot and establishing this world?
Well, I think it's funny, first of all, that Syntell was like, I liked it. Like, it was almost like you were embarrassed to say you liked it. But I was all in because I'm a total steampunk fan. And I love the Victorian era. So I totally invested in this pilot, in the world. Like, it had me from the beginning. Because you do have like you were saying, like it's all women, predominantly women. And they're all strong female characters in their own way. Like, Penance isn't a fighter. She's an inventor. She makes the crazy inventions that like assist Amalia True while she's in her battles. And Amalia, at first when it started, I thought Amalia's turn was like fighting. I thought that she was like an amazing like fighter. And then to see her actual turn, which is that she sees bits of the future, what is to come, moments. I was really impressed by the way that they didn't make them weak. They still kept their feminine, and yet they were very, very strong, and intelligent. And they weren't half dressed, they were still like very like just something that I would aspire to be. Like, even in the opera scene when Amalia leapt out of her dress and she's doing battling in her petticoat, I was like, you better go ahead. You know what I mean? Like, I was totally moved by this, and I thought the female cast was stellar. So you always want to get to see that, Oh, one thing I was going to say, when you mentioned, I think Randy or Chuck, whichever one you mentioned, like when they're exiting the building, for the first time with the umbrellas, it really gave me that feel of Sherlock Holmes, like Dr. Watson and Sherlock leaving. They still had this air of like, not just authenticity, but like determination and just this spirit of fire, even when they went in to meet the parents. Like, that mother was hilarious. She was convinced it was like Satan. It was the acrobats.
Yeah. And I love the dynamic between Penance and Amalia. Like, that first scene, they have so much chemistry together. And Trey or Syntell, sorry about that, man. I know you love a villain. I know you
Love
love a
villain.
good villain, man.
Malady.
So what did you think about the villain, at least in the pilot episode?
I'm not gonna lie. The very first thing I thought about was Joker. That was the first thing. I was like,
Mm.
okay, it's a Joker rendition, but I didn't dismiss it. I was like, well, let me give it a chance, and she made it her own. She was maniacal. She was just off her rocker. She was fun. Every time she stepped on the scene, it forced me to pay attention. It just took me a second to get used to her motives as to why she was this person that she was. I couldn't get all of that in the first episode, so it gave her the opportunity as the villain to grow on me and to be like, okay, I always want to kind of like root for the villain's cause a little bit. That's one of the things that kind of makes a good villain to me, just a little bit. And it worked out. I liked her. I think she was one of the highlights of the series until
I loved her. She was batshit crazy from the moment she stepped on the scene, and I just loved it when she popped up at that theater. That was everything to me. Chuck, Cortney, you guys got anything you want to add, or how you felt about the villain in this series? And I'm specifically referring to Malady, but you could also look at some of the other villains that we might have established in the pilot episode.
I enjoyed Malady. I really enjoyed the Beggar King. I love Nick Frost. I loved him since Into the Badlands. And
that is him.
And him as the Beggar King was awesome.
Was he the one in Hot Fuzz, or am I thinking of somebody else?
Yes, he was in Hot Fuzz too.
He was in Hot Fuzz too.
And I thought Malady was a good villain. She seemed more tortured and in pain than her villainy. Like, she was there to prove a point. Like,
that was her turn.
Yeah, that was her turn. The more pain she gets, the
that's a good point. So what was her? I didn't understand.
She thrives. She thrives from pain.
Pain, yeah. So the more pain she feels, the stronger she becomes.
Oh.
So that's why she was telling Troy, like, hit me. She was hearing True fighting. She was letting True hit her, and then she'll come back like instantly, and then she can break a limb and step right back up. Like, she got stronger from the pain. Every injury.
And she could manipulate. I don't think that was her touched power, but she had the ability to manipulate people. I mean, she had her own version of her own Harley Quinn as well. I mean, it was very, very Jokerish. Yes. Like, a lot of it was very Jokerish.
Well, that's to me, like, I felt like she was more intellectual than I initially anticipated, especially in the beginning. And I rewatched the pilot, after the last episode to see like all the things that I either missed, or were there buttons, was there something dropped. And at the beginning, which is when they discover the body of who turns out to be the reporter that Malady takes over, the one thing Detective Mundy says is like, this is not Malady's writing on this wall, because Malady can spell.
Yes.
And that was the first thing that should have been a clue to me, that Malady isn't just some run-of-the-mill psychopath, crazy person. She's really a sociopath.
Yes.
In the sense of like, she has a purpose. Like, she feels like, number one, she's been driven by God. And number two, that she feels like this is her mission. Whereas True has a mission. She's literally the yang to True's yin.
Yeah.
They're one half of a whole. And I thought she was brilliant in her when she did her moment, her reveal, because I had no idea that was her.
When her and True were actually talking, I thought of Charles Xavier and Magneto. I instantly went into that type of dynamic where she was like, you want to be with these people? They want to kill us all. They don't want us to exist. And who are you? Because you abandoned me. You don't remember you abandoned me.
And that's in episode 2. That's in episode 2 when we get the exposure when they're fighting.
Yeah.
I would like to know why Malady was in the psychiatric ward to begin with. That's something, because Malady was, even then, she was very articulate, very smart, very, very religious, but she was like present,
You know who she remind me more of all the characters I think of going through the lexicon of characters, strong women characters? Helena from Orphan Black. Helena was Helena
is classic.
Helena was a sociopathic, and she was driven by God. the whole entire time. And she was raised in a Russian monastery, and she was beat to death, to be disciplined and to be protective, and she changes a character throughout the series. But that's what she remind me of.
Oh, she's my favorite character in Orphan Black. Honestly, I love Helena.
That's what she remind me of.
We're in episode 2 right now, so we're getting, because that's where the conversation between Amalia and Melody occurred. In episode 2, it's called Exposure. We get a lot of reveals, right? We start off with the woman who has been touched and her powers are revealed. They're exposed. And we find out that being touched in this world, especially for the people who have these powers, it's not a good thing. She was literally ostracized from her family. And her friend kind of snitched on her, right? When we were there.
Kinda.
We also
Absolutely.
find, Lavinia hosts this whack ass party that puts all of the orphans on display, like, ugh. And we find out too that Lavinia, although she owns the orphanage and she appeared as an ally, like, she's got some racist bullshit going on with her. We find out that there's a guy, you know, who actually has been touched. So Trey, out of like the exposures, the big reveals, Syntell, out of the exposures and the big reveals, which one kind of stood out to you in episode 2?
I guess it's the what is it? The sister, the one with all the money that had everybody come out on display. Lavinia.
Yeah, Lavinia.
It was. I guess it was her. Because I thought that where her reservation with the touch was just because she was overly protective of her brother, and I thought that was the reason why she might be feeling some kind of way about it, until it's revealed that it's darker, more sinister relationship that she has with the man who's unearthing this ship. We're assuming the ship or the alien that's trapped in the rock / ice or whatever, and that she's using that for political gain is what it's safe to assume, or even gain for the species, maybe even deeper than that. I'm not sure if that was 100% clear. So I think that was probably like one of the biggest reveal for that episode.
Yeah, I after she went all racist and shit, I was like, I'm done with her. You know, I was just like,
they're funny.
Yeah,
I thought for sure she was gonna be our Charles Xavier. You know, they put her in a wheelchair, and then she's like the anti Xavier.
Right.
And I really thought she had a turn. I thought something happened to her legs. I still think she has a turn.
You think so?
I think so too. I think she has a turn and she's not revealing anything.
I think that we never see her. I think that's something to do with her legs. I think she can walk.
Yeah.
I think she's got like goat feet or something like that.
I think she has a turn too. I think we just don't know. And I think, or she may not be human. She may be the alien species trying to hunt the alien down and kill it. Because we'll get into the episode later. But yeah, I just think she's a very interesting character altogether.
You know, the thing that bothered me about that second episode, like you talk about like the way that she treated the touch
into her brother, Augustus.
That's not what I was gonna say. I was gonna say the way it made me feel like Nazi Germany, in the sense of like you have to put on a badge in order to show that you're part of the touched, because that's what happened to the Jews when, you know, after like Crystal Knot. So it was that bothered me. That deeply bothered me, that you have these people and you have to like tell who you are, you know, and then it was like almost like the Powers Registration Act, the Sokovia Act later on, where you have to register, you know.
It was almost like she was setting them up for something bigger, right?
Yes.
Just putting them out there. So we have also in episode 2 the contrast with Lavinia, but we also have August, and what's the one guy's name?
Swan.
He's just kind of out there creating, I don't know, he's creating, you know, sex parties and everything like that. So what do we think about the dynamic between first August and Swan, and what Swan is trying to do with the touch? Courtney, why don't you share your opinions on that?
Well, I think Swan is a very interesting character, given the fact that, especially during that time period, he's very sexually fluid and he's very out about it. He's very free and he's almost trying to start this like speakeasy slash gentleman's club. But he does come from old money. So that's one thing that we learn about him. He just doesn't care. He's trying to do his own thing. And I love that dynamic between him and August, because it's almost like he's the freedom that August doesn't have. That brotherhood, that dynamic that they have is so fun to watch, because August just is so uncomfortable in everything. Like, even when we saw him at the opera, he's getting a blow job when like there's like a whole, Mary comes out, does her song, all the touch to reveal, and he getting blown out.
He never loses his attention, right?
Never loses, and he's just like, so he's just such a fun character.
I'm curious as to like his past, because apparently his father's passed, right? His dad died, and one of the gentlemen of means had cut a slight in referencing that maybe you were the son that shouldn't have died or something. It should
have died. Yeah, it made it seem like his older brother died.
You're the son that should have died. So with that, to me, I'm curious as to how recently out he is, because when you got money, you can kind of do what you want. You're a rich white man, so you can be whatever the hell you want and not really suffer any big repercussions. So I'm wondering if he had outed himself during that time his father was alive, or when his brother was still alive at that time, or is this just his way of rebelling and bucking the system from the privileges that he's seen or the disappointment that he may have had for his father? So I see the reason like he's doing these crazy things as a way of kind of like sticking his finger, giving the middle finger to the establishment that set whatever boundaries that he had from before then.
I feel like he waited until his dad died.
Yeah, to me also, he was simultaneously trying to prove something, like that he could do a business or something on his own, because he's kind of always been that
rich kid
type of person. Or like no expectations were placed on him. He's just a rich guy living off his parents' money. One of the things that I was interested in when we were talking about,
and he's literally sticking it to the law.
Yeah, he's sticking it. It was so funny, right?
Yeah.
When he said the maid, right?
Mason.
When she put on her little hat or bonnet, he was like, "You don't have to put that on." He was like, "Oh shit, you really are the maid." Man, I rolled.
Yeah, Mason.
Chuck, one of the things when we were talking about villains, was it Mason? Like, I noticed nobody said anything about him. So what do you think about Mason?
Is Mason really a villain though? We don't know what Mason is yet, right? What we do know is he does want to control the touch, and he feels like they're a threat to the larger society. And he could be just playing his part in the role of that society where men are dominant and men are losing power to the touch. And like Courtney said, this is during the Victorian era, and people understand Victorian era. Before the Victorian era had their morality era, they were like rampantly. There's a lot of homosexual acts throughout the Victorian era, until one day they were like, "Oh my God, all the men are just banging out all the other men. They're not banging any women." So they start passing laws to stop it from happening.
Was that really a thing?
That was really a thing.
Yeah,
it was. Really
that was how the church really took power. Is because they had to really break out of all the pagan rituals and pastimes, because that's all the way from Greece.
People were going.
Nobody cared about anybody. Like everybody was sexually fluid. Nobody cared.
Everybody was sexually fluid,
and people needed to. Then they were like, okay, we need to care. I don't know if it was the birth rates were going down or what happened. I don't really know. But all of a sudden, like they needed.
Where the brothel industry was kind of dying. The bathhouses are going up, and men were like, "Why would I be with a woman? I could be with another dude." We both go our separate ways, and that's what it was like for them. And then, so I could see Mason, like, the touch is going to get in power, and it's going to stop what we have as this new moral society. They're going to take control and take over.
Come on, man.
I liked Mason because I thought he had a good reason. I felt that. I mean, I don't agree with him morally, obviously. Not morally, but like for the structure of the story, I agree with those reasons. I'm like, that makes sense. I can understand why while you're doing what you're doing. You got these people that are automatically disempowered, and they're women, majority women on top of that. Who knows what the potential of what some of these powers can be?
We have established
Let's get this all in control right now.
Yeah, the patriarchy is in threat.
The
It's threatened because women don't need the men.
Yes.
And that's their biggest power is manipulation, is that they feel like they're losing
isn't that
control.
a villain?
It is.
I think he's a villain.
Oh, definitely. He's definitely.
I have two theories about him. See, I don't think he is himself. I think he is like Amalia True.
Oh, you think he's somebody else?
Inherent by somebody?
Yeah,
I think
maybe.
I think somebody and I think his wife and daughter are locked down in that dungeon.
I think something's
definitely his daughter.
Yeah.
Definitely his daughter.
I think it's very interesting when they had the meeting with all the men and they were talking, and when the man had made a good point or a point that somebody agreed with, they flipped the little banisters, the sticks over.
Mm-hmm.
What did that mean? Well, I didn't understand that.
That's the secret society ritual, right? We don't know what it means yet. We don't know where that leans society. But I think it's like you agree with a point or you don't disagree. You disagree with a point.
Right. I think it's like a vote. You know, it's like a silent vote. Like I'm passing you it's like a proxy. You know what I mean? Like I'm supporting this person. Right.
Mm-hmm. It's like +1 in it. So I thought
that was a great scene that the two he had with Amalia True when they had a conversation without having a conversation.
Oh, that was a really good scene.
That was a brilliant scene.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Now I was gonna say, share it, please. Courtney, tell us what did you like about that scene?
I love that they both got their cards on the table. Like they were both equally matched. They knew who the other one, what they were about, and neither one of them lost the battle. It was a draw. You know, it was like they were having a battle of wits and words, and it was fantastic to watch. Episode 3 is probably my favorite episode because that was the episode with the battle in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! That episode is something that I just hadn't seen. I hadn't seen a battle done in that way. And it's very hard to get my attention, my full attention, to watch a fight scene that is not, like they become standard nowadays.
Yeah.
So this one was not standard by any stretch of the imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a couple. We also had I think this was the fight scene with Annie and Amalia and Penance when they went to the warehouse and they blew up the warehouse. I thought Penance being high off of the opium was absolutely hilarious.
It was.
And I also, in that same token, her being kind of goofy, her ability to create shit is awesome, right?
Yes,
the devices that she was creating was great. Beginning with the electric car, the little foam things, all those prototypes.
The fire extinguisher. She came up with like the first fire extinguisher.
Right. Yeah. It was dope. So in this series, we had a lot of action sequences in this episode. Chuck, what was your opinion about the action sequences in this episode and throughout the series?
I actually enjoyed the action sequences. I thought they weren't inventive, but they were creative. And when they came in, they were perfectly timed and paced at the right time. It was like I needed action at that time. I just came off the high of Invincibles, where the last 2 episodes were nothing but blood and action. And it was nice to have some level of calm and not men talking to other men about being men and how women are their pets, Right. So that felt really good to have the well thought out action sequences. And they made sense. It wasn't like, I'm going to beat you up because I'm supposed to beat you up. It was like, we have to get down because I got to stop you from doing something. There was a purpose in the story to all the action sequences here. Outside, I'm just trying to stop you from being an evil person.
Right. And we had a lot of fun in this episode 3, with the action sequences and things. But we also had a real somber moment, right?
Yeah,
when we find out that there's a house out there where they are experimenting on the touch. Mm-hmm. And once they find that out, Amalia and her crew waste no time in there and going kicking ass. And then they grab that woman and she tells the story about how she drowned her daughter.
Is that episode 3? I don't think that's episode 3. Episode 3 is where Mary dies.
Mary dies in episode 4.
4. Yeah, Ignition, episode 3.
Yeah, Mary dies in episode 4 because that's what prompts Mary to do it when she hears the actual story about the woman who killed her own child.
Well,
and when she
the end of episode 3, Mary dies.
The end of episode 3.
I thought
because True fights the guy in the water. She comes back riding on the horse in just her petticoat, and then she comes back for Mary's song. Mary sings her song. The guy shoots her, and that's how it
kills
ends.
her. Yeah, it ends that way.
Okay.
And then in 4, it's the funeral.
I swore that was 3.
That was 4. Yeah, 4 is the funeral.
Before we go on, I just want us to just take a moment. I saw one of the dopest fight scenes, one of the most original fight scenes.
That's what I just said.
Ever seen. And the underwater / above water, Jesus walking on top of water fight scene. I was like, the whole time I was like, now this is how you breathe life into a whole brand new fight scene.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get. That's what I was trying to get to, Syntell. Thank you for bringing that back because I was trying to get to that. So please continue.
Yeah, I mean, completely and totally original. I'm talking about like for everything from flipping you upside down from the angles to dry style fighting to her having to outthink somebody with the ticking clock of how long can she hold her breath with somebody that is bigger, stronger than her.
And she's doing it in heavy dress. Heavy ass dress.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was really, really thought provoking. It was well shot. It had really good pace. It had I felt stress.
Yeah.
During that fight scene.
And it let you know that other men have turns.
Yeah.
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 And they knew that was his power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Wes McCauley, I don't know if you all caught it earlier in the season. He's like, we have a hard time getting him to take a bath.
Yeah. When they were
and you thought it was just, he's big and stinking, but it's like, no, that's his turn. He can't be submerged into water.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just dope. I was like, whoever choreographed that was just
But
I mean, when she jumped up on top of him and then wrapped the thing around his neck, oh God, I was like, I
just
can't
stayed underwater for that. Yeah,
and then just stayed underwater until he choked out.
Yeah, they did it behind the scenes about how they created it. And it was really cool at the end of the episode.
Yeah,
that is definitely one of the most innovative fight scenes.
It is. And it wasn't like a lot of gun. It was no gung fu action. It was straight survival. That's what
you know what, and it was then when she really became dope to me. Then I was already liking her, but when I saw that, because of the way she thought it out and the fact that she's a physical fighter, her fight game is on the money.
Yeah, and I think she fights like a woman, not like trying to make her a man or anything. She's graceful.
She fights like a warrior.
She fights like a soldier.
She fights like a female warrior, like a warrior. But it's not about, I mean.
No, it absolutely is, because when men fight, sometimes it's overpowering. It's one punch and you can knock it out. Like if you're fighting like Mike Tyson, that's like a man fights. He's knocking him out with one punch. I thought her fighting was realistic to how a woman warrior would fight in battle.
Yeah.
I can see the angle where you're coming from with that.
Like Ronda Rousey fights different than Conor McGregor. He does.
Well, that's a testament to the fight choreography as well, because you have to make it realistic. Because let's be honest, there's a reason why there are weight classes in professional fighting. There's a reason. So they addressed that in the choreography. Like they made her a lot more nimble. She strikes fast.
Yes.
It's kill spots real quick. She's not trying to overpower.
It's not a sexist thing. It's like it's fine to say that women and men fight differently.
But she fights like nobody's damn business.
She fights like a woman warrior, like a woman.
That's what I was trying to say. It fights like a woman.
It's tactical.
But I guess for me to say I like that she's still feminine when she fights like that. I'm not saying you're sexist. I'm saying that when to make that distinction rather than just to see her as a warrior and the way that she battles, that to me is what it was jarring in the sense of she is a warrior. You can't just say that. Oh, well, I like the way because she fights like a woman, the idea of she's still feminine.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to say that. I was only trying to say it wasn't. Sometimes we watch series and they have women. It's one punch dropping out. It's like a 90-pound woman drops a 275-pound man with one punch.
But it depends on the fight and it depends on the situation, because if that woman has a superpower ability, then it doesn't
She
matter.
has a superpower ability, but that's not what she had. Like super strength is not her thing.
It's not her thing, but as we learn more about her, like we learn more about where she came from and why. But I thought that fight in and of itself was just what she did. That didn't have anything to do with like her gender, as far as I'm concerned, because that battle with that Hulk, I mean, he was a Hulk.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I thought if it would have been a man the same size, it would have been a different type of fight.
I disagree,
because Mike Tyson would fight differently than Ronda Rousey would fight, or
I think a smaller man would have the same fight as her, but somebody the same as hulking as that man, they would have a different fight. It's kind of like
we just saw it this weekend with Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul. We literally saw it.
We saw Mayweather duck and hide and just sticking when he could. Because he's 145 pounds or a 190-pound man.
I mean, I'm not trying to take it.
I'm just saying. I don't really think it's.
I think it's a size thing. It's not a gender thing. It's a size thing.
It's a size thing. Yeah.
She's just a tactical. She's a tactical.
That's a tactical, like, and because that's what I'm trying to say. It's the ingenuity of the battle, regardless of the situation, is still the same. Situation is this man can't be, and he cannot be submerged in water.
No, he cannot.
And you cannot come up. That's the situation. Regardless of whether or not you're a strong man, big man, female, you cannot come up. I mean, that's the ingenuity of the scene and the way it was choreographed. That to me was the beauty of that dance, and it was a dance.
I think Randy's saying if there's a man bigger than him, he would have came up and tried to fight him. He would have probably came
I
up
understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I don't necessarily think that's. That for me, from my perspective, that wasn't relevant to the battle. Yeah,
but we do have movies such as the Fast and Furious series where it'd be like a 125-pound person hit somebody in the head and knock them out. There's no way on God's green earth Ludacris or Michelle Rodriguez knocks out somebody that's 6'9",
like The Rock with one punch. It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. Yeah, that doesn't happen. But that's with Ludacris or any of those skinnier, smaller characters. But I think that's a size thing. And they made the fights realistic. Birds of Prey got praised for that because they made the women fight in more tactical ways. They were just badass fighters. They could just whoop your ass. They hit you in your knees, knock you to the ground, then they beat you down. And I think she was a smart tactical fighter that way. I think True was definitely the superior warrior. And I like that.
Absolutely.
That was the best thing about the revealing episode we found. It's like, how's she such a badass fighter? That has to be her turn. I said, maybe it's because she sees the future. She knows how to calculate all the fight moves. Because she was
I thought it had to do with something. I thought it had to do with her husband, because they kept talking about the scene that she had with Mundy when she explained how she had known violence. You know what I mean? Like something to do with, because she kept saying everybody she's a widow. I thought she had to either learn something or she and her husband did something together. Like they were on some kind of team or whatever. And or he was abusive. Like I had a whole story in my head when we discovered that wasn't her turn. But that scene with Mundy after Desiree got him to spill his guts on everything. That was very telling. And
And there were clues, right? Didn't Amalia a couple of times say, "I've been left here and I don't know my mission"? That was a little confusing with us not knowing what the backstory was. So I felt like they were trying to drop clues intermittently throughout the series.
Yes, they were. I think they were, but nobody expected turn that happened in that episode. Like, what the hell?
We're going to get there. We're going to get there.
But it's like, for her, she was like, she's definitely an expert fighter. I'm glad they didn't over gung fu this whole entire series. Like, not
what do you
everybody
mean over gung fu?
Like, everybody knows kung fu. Everybody knows kung fu and martial arts throughout the series. This was real fighting. This was real fighting. It was not
go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was like, this was fighting that you would see in the Victorian era, but I think her fighting ability was a little bit more advanced than most of the other people in this show. Like, she was highly an advanced fighter.
Well, I had assumed, based off of the shark that gets jumps later on, I had assumed once that reveal happens that if you are that person, like, fighting has evolved to a way more efficient
she was
of going about it at
fighter.
that time. I mean, because fighting is way more efficient now than it was, 100 years ago. Hand-to-hand combat is, at least, because it's just evolved. So it makes sense once you see the history of who she is and where she comes from, and you put that person into this fish out of water story where that's like your main strength, then she is going to over excel at it. So it kind of justifies all of that stuff, because there are a couple of points where you're like, dang, she might be a little OP. Like, she is OP. How in the world? Well, but that's what leads you to believe, because that you think that it's her turn because she's so OP. But then when you see the reveal, it's like, oh no, she's not OP. It's just she's just at a different level.
She's at a whole different level.
She was so competent.
Type of training, yeah.
And you don't get that like a couple of years of training. Like, that's a lifetime.
Well, it's someone that has had to adapt into every situation. That was the cool thing about episode 2, when she found Mary after Malady took her. She found Mary, and Malady had Mary on one side and Penance on the other, and she was like, you have to choose. And Malady totally thought she had the power in that scene, and yet Amalia took the power away from her and said, I'm not the mission. My mission is important, and it needs both of them, and shot herself.
Yeah.
Like, that to me was, that's a tactical decision. You want to disrupt the person who is your opposite, who is your antagonist, but at the same time, you want to succeed in your mission, which is they have to live.
Yeah.
That's something that a soldier would.
Yeah,
but that's one thing we
for
realized.
Dr. Cousins, right? He is, yeah. He is so
cheating
awesome.
on his wife. He is awesome, but like,
yeah, I mean, there's that, and nobody really wants to address that, right?
Address it, because in the first
elephant
episode,
in the room, like, nobody want to address that.
There was flirting in the first episode.
Yeah, the first episode. I said,
there's flirting in the first episode.
I said, he's gonna have having sex with her. I think I said that. I think I text everybody in the chat. They're gonna have sex because it's just obvious. They just threw it out there.
Or they had already been having sex.
They had already been having sex.
It was something there that was either acted upon previously or wants to be acted upon.
Yeah. But what's interesting about him is that he has a turn in the way his speech, when he addressed his turn.
Amazing.
He was like, look, I'm a black man in the white man's world, and I show
1896, right? And if I show up killing people,
doctor,
they're gonna put me as a voodoo doctor.
Yeah, and kill me.
See, that's one of the things that I was actually surprised that the world is accepting as it was, because I mean, you have flashback to the Salem witch trials, which is damn near the same time period. It's like Salem witch trials was like
Salem witch trials was
about 1600,
1692.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So about 200
Thank you
years
for that clarity. Then. But even still, you're talking about like stuff that could easily be considered like witchcraft.
Oh, absolutely.
Or other like, I'm surprised like a lot of folks wasn't burning at the stake. Just you got somebody that's like a fly or a 300-foot wall, or but maybe that's what it is. But I thought it was still handled relatively calmly.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's
none
British.
of these people are in internment camps or
are we saying that British are more accepting than Americans?
I'm saying that the British, they talk about everything. They want to posture and have a conversation, have some fucking tea, and discuss some shit. You know what I mean? And the volume of people.
Well, this is when I realized it was society. Fiction. Like it was super fiction when I realized like they just walking around and ain't nobody strung up. I'm like, it's
but
I'm still here for it.
But that's a part of the polite society too. Because they did go through, during Victorian era, they did introduce polite society where they stopped mass killing, because they did have their throws where they just had blood running in the streets, and they're like, we got to stop that. We're killing up all the people. So we got to be polite.
More science in this time too, right? Like scientific discoveries and things like that. So maybe
all of that is an affront to, I mean, I know we're going way off subject right now, but all of that is an affront to the religious foundation of this culture. All of that. And for it to just be like, well, maybe they're a little bit different and maybe we should hear them out, to me was absolutely like, fuck out of here. But I'm here for the story, so I'll just let it go. Just let it go.
Because I mean, if you come down to it, like you think about the doctor being a black doctor during that time, and we only got 2 black people that we see.
Yeah.
Who else is he? Because he has to be a doctor only for black people.
Yeah, that's what he
except
said.
for the
He said
turn,
that too.
except for the touched.
Yeah,
right.
he did
And
have that.
even when he was at the insane asylum, when he thought Amalia didn't want to deal with him, he said, "I can get you a white doctor." If that's
Yeah, I thought that was a that
Yes.
was an interesting piece of interesting piece of line to just drop in there to kind of like, it settled me a little bit more. I can't lie.
It did,
It settled
yeah.
me a little bit. I was like, okay, well, at least
Yeah.
At least we're
we're not gonna sit
acknowledging.
here and pretend like this big pink elephant sitting in the room ain't sitting in the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was cool.
So,
I was
But they
Let's move
did,
forward.
but Britain did have black doctors back in that era because white doctors weren't allowed to deal with black people that lived in Britain, so they had to have
Right.
black doctors. Well,
So let's
it
move
was-
forward.
It was kind of against the
We
law to touch
got
black people.
we got Penance and we got Amala. They
Mhm.
kind of splinter apart and they've got their opposing views, right? Should they hang Malady, or should I go ahead with the original mission? Who are you siding with? Team Penance or Team Amalia?
Amalia, dog.
Amalia. Oh, Amalia.
What
Yeah.
Okay, so Syntell, Amalia, why?
Because Amalia is a soldier, so she doesn't have the time to get lost in sentiment. It's like, this has to get done. And you're over here worrying about a social issue that is not relevant to the mission at large. So let's get this done so that we can move forward. I understand that, what you're dealing with is tugging on your heartstrings and you feel a space of righteous indignation and you have to stand on your soapbox and stuff and do this thing, but is it really helping?
Yeah.
What about you, Courtney? We going Team Amalia or Team Penance?
For me, I thought it was interesting, number one, to see them in two different corners, to see them strong enough to disagree and yet still support each other to follow their own path. So I wasn't necessarily about one or the other. For me, I was excited by the stronger choice in showcasing that these two women are strong in their own way. And I was kind of for both of them because I agreed with Penance saying, if you let them kill one touched, then that's just a free for all. You're opening the door, like it's just setting the stage for what's to come next that we can't even see. You can't even see it. But at the same time, Amalia on her mission, because now we've had Myrtle has deciphered Mary's song, and then it's a message from the Galanthe, which that was something that happened at the end of episode 4, where I was like, what? Have we talked about that before? What is a Galanthe? Like, what do we know? Who is he? Is that her husband? Like, I was so confused. You know what I mean? Because nobody had established that before. So then moving forward into that, episode 5 was honestly one of my favorite episodes because you got to see so many characters that do things that you saw their turn at the little, circus show that Lavinia put on. But I loved the scene with the stampede with the girl who could turn things into glass.
Yeah.
Like that was so powerful. That whole hanging scene was incredible.
Yeah. And Malady's plan was just amazing. Yeah,
Malady's reveal. Yeah. And that was the episode. Fun fact. Well, I'm sure you watched the behind the scenes. That was the episode where they had to stop because of COVID. So they had to completely reshift everything that they had planned on how they were going to shoot that hanging scene because they couldn't have the same amount of extras that they had planned on having because they shut down for a year. And then they came back, reimagined the whole scene. And then they just had like 20 to 30 extras, which they just kind of like repeated with computer imagery. Thank you. Could not find that word, and made it like it looked like it was an entire crowd.
Yeah,
I thought that was really powerful.
And
I didn't know
Courtney. Sorry, go ahead. What were you saying, Syntell?
I was just saying I didn't know that, so that puts a lot of things in perspective.
Absolutely.
So
Courtney, you touched on it. It's the elephant, the pink elephant in the room. What the fuck was going on with episode 6? Chuck, your initial thoughts when you turned into episode 6, and elaborate a little bit for the people out there who may not have seen it. And FYI, it's mad spoilers.
So
get my popcorn because this is gonna be funny.
I'm gonna get this short. I'm ready. As y'all know, that I truly binge shows. So I actually started this show, I think, right after a happy hour. And so it was 2 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday when I got to this episode. It was like 1 or 2 o'clock, and I was ready to, I was like, I'm about to finish the whole entire thing in one day. This is exciting. I'm so excited to see what happens in episode 6. And I started it, and I'm looking at it like, what? Did I hit the wrong button? So I stopped it again, and I went to my HBO Max, and I hit it again. I was like, oh, maybe there's some mix up in the circuits. Maybe there's something that's not connected to the right server. I'm gonna log out. I logged out, turned off the PS5, turned it right back on, logged back in to HBO Max, and hit it again. And I'm like, it's still not working. I said, let me get some water because maybe I'm hitting the wrong button. My controller is working. I got the remote control. So I put the controller down, picked the remote control I have for the PS5. I was like, okay, let me go right to the button. I clicked on the story. I said, I'm not going to resume. I'm going to go to the episode page. And I clicked the last episode. And I was like, what? This is not right. Let me stop that again. I said, I'm going to go to bed. It's time for me to go to bed because I'm seeing some madness right now because I'm looking at a sci-fi thriller. I'm looking at a sci-fi thriller with aliens and guns and humans fighting each other. I don't know what's going on.
For 20 minutes. For 20 minutes.
Yeah, I went in for like
Yo, it was a
5
long
minutes.
time too,
It was
man.
30 full minutes.
It was 30
I was
full.
like,
And so I come back out
where
of it.
am I?
So I wake up in the morning. I wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, okay, I'm fresh. Take my shower, get ready. I was like, okay, let me put on some popcorn. So I had some popcorn. I put on my popcorn. I got me some juice. And I was like, I'm going to watch this show. I'm pretty sure HBO Max sorted it out. So I logged back out and did everything. Logged back in. And I started the show. And I was like, huh? No, they still missed the show. So I brought out my iPad and I scrubbed the iPad timeline and I saw the characters that I'm used to. I said, did HBO combine both this with another show? Did they fuck up this bad? Who was getting fired? I said, so let me watch this from the beginning. So I watched it from the beginning and they said, then I'm listening to the woman talk and I'm listening to them like, okay, her cadence is very familiar. I was like, oh shit, this is the same show. And I noticed because of the ceiling and the alien in the ceiling, I realized it was the same damn show. And I was like, what the fuck's going on?
it was the fingers.
I saw the finger thing. I saw the finger thing.
When she started doing that.
I saw the
'Cause I
finger
did
thing.
Better than
exactly
I
what you
was
did,
until they
Chuck.
went back to like
what the fuck are they
1896. I
doing?
still was.
I
done.
saw the finger thing. I saw that she did that like 10 minutes scene. When the person got shot inside the base, she did the finger thing, and I was like,
12:01.
yeah, I was like,
12:01.
I was like,
I
what
turned
the
it
fuck
on
is this shit? I
in
was like-
anticipation.
I was like, what the fuck is this shit? This shit's crazy. So you turned it on.
I did the
12:01.
same thing that Chuck did. I started it. What is this? This ain't right. This ain't right.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't done something wrong. Like HBO, maybe is this a preview? And I convinced after I started it over and it happened again, I convinced myself that this was a trailer for
Yeah.
like the next show. And so I was like,
I
all right, well, let me
initially
just
thought
go
that
ahead
too.
and watch. Let me just go ahead and watch this. And then I saw the finger thing. I said, what the fuck? And then I saw the Galanthe. I was like, son of a motherfucker.
I said, they got
bitch.
aliens? Where did these
Yeah.
aliens come from?
So-
my superhero show. Why is it
Syntell,
in the future?
what was your thoughts, man? How
I
did
was-
you feel when you turned it?
I've been watching Nevers like off and on. I didn't binge watch it. I would watch an episode and like 3 days later I'd watch another episode. I just kind of like did it like that was one of those things I would just do to just kind of like fill some time. But so by the time I got to the final episode, I had already like seen the horror show remarks. Twitter had like lost its mind. Like I was like, what in the world is going on? And there were like comparisons. When was the last time the shark was jumped like this and all? I was like, what the heck? So then the minute I turned it on and I saw that we weren't in Kansas anymore, I was like, oh, this is what they're talking about. So
Yeah.
I didn't go through the rewinds and all that other stuff. So I just took it from the word go. And I was like, just stick the landing. That's all I kept saying to myself. I was like, just stick the landing. You've got me here. I don't know what's going on. Just please stick the landing. And I don't think it stuck
And
the
it
landing.
impacted the show, man. It
But
really
yeah,
did.
nothing
Like,
was ever the same, man.
yeah,
Nothing was
because it's
ever the
like
same.
you were introducing us to characters that we just didn't give a shit
Mhm.
about because we had
Yeah.
spent,
Mm-hmm.
5 hours in this world in 1896, and then you introduced us to these new people that get killed or shot. I'm like, I don't give a shit about them.
I felt
Like
violated.
Yeah, I had
felt
no
violated.
attachment to
I felt
them
robbed.
at all.
I felt gypped. I felt stupid.
Yeah,
I
it was
felt
right.
stupid.
And it seemed so contrived. It was like they didn't have a place to go and they just kind of made up some shit.
I was invested
Me
in
too.
this world, in the Victorian. I was
Right.
committed to
Mhm.
these
You
people and
spent
the
5
story
hours
that they were
there.
going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was with their journey. You know, like Penance when she went and saved Malady, and then I was waiting to see like what happened with True because they came back, they were beat up too, and Penance's team was all beat up, and then I was like,
Yeah.
well, what happened in
Right.
Amalia's story? Cut to we don't get Amalia's the last like 15 to maybe 20 minutes of Amalia's actual story, and then like I was so hurt
Yeah, it
because
was.
all I needed was that world. I didn't
Go ahead.
need aliens.
Yeah.
I'll
Go ahead,
say
Syntell.
this. Okay, so this is what I didn't know until I found out after I watched it.
Mhm.
So I thought it was the season finale. That's what I thought. I was like, that's just the season finale. So I gotta wait a whole other year on this craziness. I'm like, it's bad enough. It's only 6 episodes. I'm like, but this is how you're gonna leave? This is just nuts. But come to find out, it's just the mid-season finale. It's just the mid-season finale.
Because of
So-
COVID.
Right. So, and I didn't even know it was because of COVID. I just figured that, I don't know. Well, I guess I did think it was because it doesn't matter. I thought that they just needed more time because there's been mid-season pauses. This isn't a new thing. Mid-season pauses happened even before COVID. So I was like, okay, well, this is just them retooling. Maybe it's production costs or whatever the reason was, but they wanted to leave you on like a mini cliffhanger. Had this been like the absolute season finale, I probably would have just might have been done. Might have just been like done. But because it's a mid-season finale, and I do think that there is an importance in that we're only halfway through the first part of the story, the first season story, I'm willing to give it a little more grace, even though it is absolutely jarring. It's just a very jarring thing to do to your viewers.
Okay. All right, let's rate this thing, man. We're gonna start off with you, Chuck. For those out there, we have binge-worthy scale. At a 5, it is a full binge out. That is the highest rating that you can have. At a 4, it is a full meal. Not quite a binge out, but it's very good. Now, at the next rating is a 3, and it is a mini meal. A mini meal is just average. Think of a C+, a C student, right? Then we have a 2, which is a snack. It doesn't fill us up at all. It is not good. It is not really worthy of continuing to watch. Just something you do in your spare time. And the last rating is a 1. It is a cringe worthy, and that's just some old bullshit. Why the hell did you recommend me to watch that? So we're gonna go to you first, Chuck. How are you gonna rate the Nevers?
It was binge worthy up to the first 30 minutes of the last episode. With that, I'm just going to give it a full meal. I'm kind of curious of what they're going to do, but I swear this can go from a full meal to cringeworthy real fast. With the closing of the season. Like right now, it gets a full meal and there's no in between. It goes straight to cringeworthy if this turns into what I think Joss Whedon's going to turn this into. And I'm going to be really, really angry. And that means episode 7, we're out of Victorian London and we're in this future. And then he's going to go back and forth between the two worlds. And I'm gonna flip my TV and I'm going to go to Warner Media down the street and say, y'all owe me a effing TV. We're putting this on TV. But
You did this.
they only have 2 places they can go from me, right? Because they're not going to get a full meal the next time. This can either go back to a binge worthy or it's going to go to a cringe worthy.
Okay.
That's what it's going to be for me. Right now, I'm giving it a full meal.
We got a full meal.
Because of the first 30 minutes of the last episode. Like, they took everything that I loved about these women being in this position, fighting for their place in the society, and threw it out the window. The baby with the bathwater just went out the window. And they're not in the dead of winter, right into the furnace of hell. That's where they put it.
All right, Syntell, how you gonna rate this, man?
All right, so a couple things. First, let me start by saying I think Joss Whedon is a talented creative. I know, barring his personal stuff, just from the sake of storytelling, I think he does have talent. I was a huge fan of Firefly, Buffy, all of that. Like, there's something about the way that he tells story that's at least interesting, regardless of him being the ultimate asshole. All right, I'll say that. So with that being said, I think Josh probably still wrote the story for the Nevers. He may not be writing individual episodes anymore. He may not have that type of influence.
He didn't write any of them. They were written by a woman.
Right, but I'm saying the story, the overall arching story, the creative story of what the story is going to be.
Crediting for the pilot and the second one.
Right now,
okay.
Now he may. I'm assuming he went to when he pitched it. He's like, I got this idea. The time travelers go back. Blah blah blah. This cool thing happens at the end of season 1 that's going to blow everybody's mind. I believe he has the power of that type of storytelling. So with that, I believe that it can still be good. Now, what the writers do with that content and what the directors, how the directors turn those written words into images on the screen is up in the air. I have faith in the story, maybe not necessarily in the process and on how it gets to the end. So with that, it's just middle of the road for me. I got to just give it a mini meal. I didn't binge it. Like I said, I watched an episode like every few days. So it wasn't enough to just kill it from start to finish. If the story holds up of whatever his overall vision is and they're able to maintain that, I think we could be in for a pleasant surprise, possibly. So I will be watching in to see the rest of the season. If the season ends and it's still on some BS, then I'm done. And I'll probably never watch another season.
A mini meal?
Yeah, I gave it a mini meal.
Okay. For me, for the first 5 episodes, I was literally in love with this universe. And especially after we had done the irregulars during the same time period, it was vastly superior. And Chuck pointed out one of the things, I like the pristine image, even if it is 1896 London. I thought the characters were dynamic. I love that it was a female cast. I love the characters in this series. The fight scene that we talked about, I thought it was one of the most creative fight scenes ever. It is literally those first 30 minutes of episode 6. And Cortney had a word that really captured how I felt. She called it cinematic blue balls, because I felt like it's like this season 6 was like having sex. Anytime you can have sex is great, but if you don't climax, all you can think about is I didn't finish. It was good, but I didn't finish. So for those reasons, it really dropped the ball for me, and it constantly makes me think about it, because it makes me think like they forced something on me. It was contrived. I don't know what the thought process was. So for me, since it is the first part, the first half of a second half, it literally is a snack. So I've got to wait for the rest of it to see if I can improve it, right? It may flip it around. And I got the snack and then I got full off of it. I might have a full meal or a binge worthy. But for right now, due to those things interfering with it, I'm giving it a snack. And we're finished lastly with you, Miss Dynamic Diva. How are you rating the Nevers?
So I have always been, all of like Syntell said, all of the personal situations aside, I have always been a strong supporter of In Joss We Trust, because he has never let me down in terms of, he always gives me the character that is most like me, which is like deeply sarcastic, who comes out with these statements that are like, like the opposite of what they actually feel, but there's this heightened capacity of like dramatic intellect. All of his stories, no matter what story you're telling, is so engaging, and the characters are usually so captivating. And this was no different. This, from the moment the pilot started, I was all in. I was the writing, the sets, the costume, the acting, the characters were developed. And I wanted to be in this orphanage with these women. I wanted to be friends with Bonfire Annie. I wanted to be in her crew. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why I was up every Sunday night at Saturday night at 12:01 waiting for the 6, I guess, Eastern time, 6 p.m. Pacific time. I was right there, 6:01, waiting to watch it, you know? And so it's so hard for me because it jumped the ocean. It jumped like 69 sharks. I don't even know what to, like, cinematic blue balls aren't even, like, I was just confused. Like, it just happened to me. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm sitting at the restaurant and I ordered a meal and they brought me the wrong thing. I feel like they brought me the wrong meal and I sent it back to the kitchen and I'm still waiting on my meal. So I don't even know how to rate it. I mean, so I guess I'm gonna have to go with like Syntell, that it's a mini meal because they gave me a little salad to hold me off while I'm waiting for them to fix my dish in the back of the kitchen. So
that I have a great analogy off of that. So it's like they gave me every course. Like I'm on this 6-course meal, and every course is slamming. But this place is known for the desserts. It's known for its chocolate lava cake, and then they brought a fucking Brussels sprout out to me and said, "This is your dessert. One Brussels sprout, raw, not even cooked." And they're like, "Oh, once you eat this Brussels sprout, we'll bring in some flan for you. And I was like, "No, I ordered the chocolate cake." They're like, "This is the chocolate cake." This is the chocolate cake. Eat it.
Okay, so we got
on the damn Brussels sprout.
We got a full meal from Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
We got a mini meal from Syntell and Cortney, and I gave it a snack for a score of 12 divided by 4 people. That's a 3, so it is rated firmly as a mini meal.
That makes
And
sense.
it's so hard for me. It just hurts me so much because I wanted to say I reserve the right to not rate it. But because
it's a mini meal.
I don't even know how it went there. Like, I don't know how I got there. I feel like I'm sitting in my car and my GPS stranded me.
And I think a mini meal is good because it can get better, right? This is the first half, as Syntell pointed out. It can get better.
Or it can get worse.
I mean, they dropped us off in the middle of Aliens 5 with like Sigourney Weaver and fucking
and people killing each other that I don't care about.
That I don't care about. I don't have any investment in the lives, the survival or success of these people. And then you like transport her soul across the
So let me ask. So is it possible that this was a director's writer's choice to tackle it in this manner, and that maybe the story could have been done differently so that it eased us into such a dramatic change or something? Because I have faith in the story. Episode per episode is just I don't know what to say about any of that. But if the story is still salvageable, is this like a director writing problem that what we're seeing? Okay, go please.
I feel like this is karma. I feel like this is Joss's fucking payback from the way he fucked up Justice League. Because his ass got fired from the Nevers, and the writer's room was like, okay, so what do we do now? He's gone. What happens? What do we do? How do we fix this? You know what? One little lone junior writer was like, I think we should take them to space.
It feels like that though, right?
That sounds great. We're gonna do that.
It sounds like that. It feels like Shakespeare was writing, and then something happened, and Shakespeare had to dip, and they were like, "Yo, you got to finish Romeo and Juliet," and they're like, "All right, listen,
I think they
I'm
found
bringing
that
in
one
ninjas."
writer.
You're like, what?
No,
ninjas.
No. It feels like Joss Whedon made it, and he got put on hiatus because of all the stuff that's going on. Warner was like, "Yo, there's too much going on right now. We want you to finish it, but we're gonna pass it over to somebody else till you get cool on you. And they're like, who you want to pick? And the writer that hates him said, I love Joss Whedon. Let me do this to his show.
Yeah, he was like still mad at Justice League. You fucked up my Justice League franchise. I was the main writer in the release the Snyder cut, bitch. I'ma do you like the Nevers. They gonna say release the Whedon cut of the Nevers, motherfucker.
All right, so there you have it, guys. We have a mini meal for the Nevers. Thank you guys for turning in to the BingeWorthy podcast. We got to give a shout out to Digital Click. As we Digital Click, they are responsible for all of this artwork that you see, all of these fancy graphics and cool things. I'm shouting them out in the chat. If you want to learn more about them, go to their website at digitalclick.com. Also, please follow us on Twitch as well. You can also subscribe to this channel. If you have Amazon Prime, you can link your account and sub to us using your Prime gaming account. And it costs you nothing, but it'll help us out tremendously. Our next episode we're doing, was it Tressay? Is it Tressay next week?
Yep, Tressay
next week. And we might have some special surprises for you guys next week for the next episode for Tressay. With that being said, that's all I got. Syntell, Cortney, you guys got anything to say before we part?
Tune in next week and chat with us about Tressay.
Yeah, ditto.
Y'all better be back. Bring some popcorn.
What about you, Syntell, man? You got anything?
Hey, man, I'm ready for Tressay. It's supposed to be a nice shakeup regarding Philippine creativity in the animation space. So I'm excited to see what they bring to the table, and I know our opinions are going to be highly coveted regarding if they stuck the landing or not. So cool. Stay tuned.
Cool. Boss man, what you got for us?
Good night. God bless.
Thank you guys for coming out. God bless. Peace.